Okay, so it's April 1st, and we have just completed our winter retreat, and it's a very special time for us to have 3 months of retreat time where we can step back from various duties and focus on the more formal aspects of our practice and the teachings and the training. And I felt anyway, it was a very fruitful time for myself, but I think for others here. And today yesterday was a kind of open day. We had went off to the coast and had a picnic and walk out on the headlands. A very pleasant day. Today we began a project to tear down koutis. That there's 2 koutis for those who are familiar with the place, the Black Rock koutis. There's 2 of them there, and the upper Black Rock was the very first kouti that was built in 1996, and then the lower Black Rock kouti was built in 1996 as well, because they built it to receive me. When I came, I arrived New Year's Eve, going into 1997. And so it was finished, I don't know, a few days before I got here. There was a big push to have a place for me to stay. So they're replacing these these koutis we built with the idea that they would last for maybe 4 or 5 years, and we'd be able to get real koutis after that. And we just sort of threw them up with mostly second-hand materials and scrounged in different places to find old windows, old doors, and we didn't have any money, so did the best we could. The log cabin, that one, of course, that's torn down now and replaced. But when that was built, that was in the end they tallied it up of what it cost us, and it was $600. So. And it's lasted 25 years. But and also, you have the wind whistling through them as well. So that I remember that first year, and Ajahn Amaro and I had talked about it, where we. So he's from England, I'm from Canada, coming to California. You don't need heaters. It's California. You know. So that was 1 year. Second year we all had heaters. It was not a comfortable winter, that first winter. So. But so that's so we had, everybody was out helping, knocking down, tearing apart the kutis. There's 2 of them. And so there's 2 black rock kutis, two kind of 2 gangs of for each kuti, and some of the people were working on the kuti, tearing out today we got as far as ripping out the kind of baseboards and the windows and the doors and the walls and the flooring and everything. I got all that out, and then of course, but then it has to all be carried down the hill and taken to brought it down to the area where the women's bathhouse is, and put it in the truck till we carted off to we've got a big dumpster that we rented up at the workshop, so we'll be filling that up with these old materials. So I don't think we're able to salvage that much of these kutis. They're pretty old and decrepit, and the wood was all pretty bad when we started. But we'll save what we can. Anyway, so it's like an era passing, and we'll be able to build new kutis. Then there's the other kutis that we haven't started yet, 8x8 and the 10x10. Those will be replaced this year as well. So, but we haven't started on that. We started on the Black Rock. So we'll see how long that takes. But it's a great project for, say, post-winter retreat. Throw some energy into destruction. It's always fun to break things. So it has sort of legalized destruction. It's kind of a good focus for energy. So that's our end of retreat project. But it's also important that we transition in terms of practice, that our practice is carried through. And of course it's, after a retreat, it's going to, the form of the practice will change a bit, will shift a bit. It has to, and that's really important to see the practice and the training as something that that grows and shifts and changes with the circumstances, that adapts to the time and place. And because if we think your practice is just one thing, and it has to be this way, that's very difficult to maintain and to sustain. But it's just so important to understand what are the fundamental principles to practice, so that we can adapt and carry the practice into the both on the cushion, on our walking meditation paths, on our our hiking back and forth to our cabins, or going back and forth, or engaging with each other, our various duties and responsibilities that we have. How do we maintain the practice so that there's a continuity? This is something that Ajahn Chah put a just tremendous amount of emphasis on in his teaching, and what Ajahn Chah would call patibaddha, sort of the continuity of practice. So it's from a word in the Pali, and it's put into the Thai language, used in the Thai language. And so that it's patibaddha, the sense of continuity of practice, continuity of training, a continuity of how we apply our attention and effort. And there are certain things that it's helpful to remind ourselves of what the Buddha himself emphasized. Well, what's really important? What is like there's a set of teachings that the Buddha gave, that the word that the Buddha himself uses, apanaka dhammas. And so these are dhammas, or teachings that are incontrovertible, a teaching that is faultless, teaching that is sure. So ways of practice that are faultless and sure, and you really have to learn how to carry it into these different modes of practice. And when the Buddha pointed to three things that he emphasized with what they call apanaka dhammas, so that indriya samvara, restraint of the senses, bhojane matanyuta, moderation in eating, and chakaryana yoga, a devotion to wakefulness. And so that these are good to look at these in both as an external manifestation of practice, but then also internal principles for the practice, so that indriya samvara, say, restraint of the senses, and of course, as soon as we hear restraint, then we say, okay, I've got to clamp down on my senses so that I don't get swept up in anything. But that's a pretty narrow way of approaching that. And in the classical description of the restraint of the senses, or indriya samvara, it's the knowledge and recognition of the sense contact, so that one is not getting swept up in in the reactions to out of like and dislike. They being pulled by desire and aversion through that sense contact. So it's an alertness to the existence of our contact with the world around us, and an application of clear comprehension, sati sampajanya, so that there is there's Bhante Sujato has done a lot of translation on the Sutta Central website and is his way of translating Sati Sampajanya, situational awareness, which is a really good. I think I like that. I like that. It's a real working translation. And that is okay, having that situational awareness, so that one is attentive to the people and situations around one, but is also clear internally, so that one's not getting swept up in one's own pull or being repelled by the contact with the senses. So that paying attention to the and carrying that through, because our senses are our window into the world, but they're also the window into our own hearts. So that being able to have that, carrying that clarity with one, and that as one does that more clearly and more consistently, the heart is not so stirred up when it comes to sitting down and watching the breath and do formal meditation. It's a great foundation for the formal aspect of practice and meditation. So, Indriya Samvara. Bhojane matanyuda, moderation in eating. And moderation in eating is just knowing what's the proper amount, and that's that sense of not being swept up in, because our senses are it's really compelling, and who doesn't, like there's an idiom that comes up in mostly in the Vinaya, but it comes up in the suttas as well a little bit, where but it's the when somebody gets lost in the with greed or not knowing boundaries, appropriate boundaries in relationship to to the requisites, but particularly to food. So like, who doesn't like delicious things? Who doesn't like sweet things? It's the compulsion is there, and but it needs needs some moderation and recognition that just because something is compelling doesn't mean one has to get swept up in it. But it also doesn't mean that you have to starve yourself or you have to beat yourself up because you think something tastes good. It is a but it's just this sense of that. I mean, moderation in eating is then also a window into the how we relate to our requisites of food, clothing, shelter, medicines for when we're sick, and sort of that sense of appropriateness of our use, as well as a sense of gratitude and appreciation for the fact that we do have people who are generous and kind enough to offer the support for our living the holy life, and it's so with that gratitude and appreciation as a basis, and it behooves us to be alert to, say, using the requisites skillfully, using them so they're really not just for gratification or for convenience, but that we use them for their purpose, and it's just looking after the body, looking after the physical well-being of so that we can practice Dhamma skillfully. So this bhojane matanyuta, that use, it's this moderation in eating, but then it extends to a moderation in all of our requisites, and having that sense of contentment. And you realize that, because on one side the Buddha's path is for the overcoming of suffering, freedom from suffering, but that its corollary is for the cultivation of happiness and well-being. And really one of the most important sources of happiness and well-being is contentment. So that where the heart is at ease and content with what it's experiencing, what it's doing, who it's with, how we are living our life. So being able to draw close to that quality of contentment and see it as a premium, rather than chasing after stimulation, gratification, as is the tendency within the world. The last quality the Buddha points to, Chakarayana Yoga, is the devotion to wakefulness. So that is both in terms of wakefulness as mindfulness, clear comprehension, but also an application of effort, being able to apply one's energy, direct one's energy to task at hand, sustain it, not get wound up by something in terms of over-energized, but but also being willing to put forth energy to get things accomplished, get things done, get up, waking up in the morning and beginning the day with as Luang Por Pasanno used to say, and leaping up with alacrity. It's, I love that idiom. And so that sense of devotion to wakefulness, because we feel alive, rather than sort of drifting in a kind of a dullness of distraction, or a cloud of confusion. That devotion to wakefulness. And of course these are all tied together. It's that the more we're willing to bring attention to that continuity of mindfulness, a continuity of presence of conscious awareness, the more alert and awake the heart is, and to be able to give one's attention to that. Because that's again, there's a just tremendous sense of well-being that arises from that, this feeling of being alert, being present. And it's just the directing of attention, because we can direct attention to how wrong everything is, how hopeless everybody else is, how pathetic we are. We can direct our attention to that. It doesn't make us very well. It's just dismal. It's not very useful. So it's a devotion to wakefulness. How do we direct our attention, direct our energies, direct our response to the world in a way that brightens the heart? So we have that option open to us all the time. So it's just learning how to exercise that option and give ourselves to that, so that as we begin this period of back into the daily routine, outside of our winter retreat, to try to go a bit slow. I mean, we are jumping into a work period, but it's also, how one does it. That's important, and then pay attention to how to carry this sense of sense restraint, of moderation of eating, these principles of devotion to wakefulness, so that it informs and nourishes our practice, our day-to-day life as samanas, as religious seekers. So I will offer that for reflection this evening, and I think everybody's probably ready to pack it in after retreat time, and then a full day of working up on the hill. So I'll end it there.